Really, if you start to see your child using a variety of different communication tools, I would start to cue in as to why they're using certain tools for certain purposes and have that conversation about the potential warning flags around bullying or sending inappropriate things that can get them into a lot of trouble.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Superintendent Spotlight. We're addressing parent queries and parent questions. These clips will help a lot of parents. Superintendent, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kara Casimiro. I'm the superintendent of the Danbury Public Schools in Connecticut. Danbury, Connecticut is in the lower western corner of the state, and we are one of the most diverse school systems in the state. We have the largest high school in the state. We have about 12,000 students, and we have been very active in being proactive in some of the topics that we'll be discussing tonight, so I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
First question I have for you, Superintendent. We're going to talk a little bit about anti-bullying. Parents are asking us, what is your advice to parents about talking to kids about being kind to each other to reduce online bullying?
Sure. Thank you. I would say online bullying, it looks a little bit different, but a lot of the warning signs about how kids are behaving and interacting with one another, you can see in real time in person. And those are the way that students are interacting with one another, how understanding really students are with their friend groups, right, is an important thing. I taught middle school for a very long time, and you could see these kind of concentric circles of students clustering together that would only socialize with other students. And we used to put a lot of effort into breaking those things up and making kids interact with different kids and learn to get along with different groups of students. So that's super important, and to make sure that your child is interacting with a variety of students from different backgrounds, different walks of life, but also with different interests, and making sure that they're well socialized, if you will, by keeping them involved in different types of activities. So it's very helpful building your child's empathy skills, really taking the time to address things in real time when other students or children's feelings are hurt. It is very important talking through how your words affect other people. Intent and outcome of words is very important. But these are things that we see when students are young or children are young, how they're playing with others, how they're sharing, and whether or not they are taking turns. All of those things are a little bit precursors to potential bullying behavior that could be addressed at a very young age. Online, kids tend to, we're anonymous. So I'm not actually directly sensing or feeling someone's emotions or seeing their expressions as a reaction to a hurt that I may cause by something that I've said. So that tends to be exacerbated in an online environment, and we see that in schools all the time. So really paying attention to what kids are doing online and listening in to the friends. When the friend group comes over and they're having those conversations, feel free to interject and offer an additional opinion about how someone else may be feeling if they overheard that conversation. And I always say, if you wouldn't say it in front of your mother, you shouldn't be saying it online or to anyone else. So it's always been kind of advice I've given my own children. If you wouldn't say it in front of me, then you should check yourself on what you're saying to your friends or other people, and especially online.
I love that. Let's dive into disappearing messages, Superintendent. Parents are asking us, what is your advice to parents about talking with kids about apps that have disappearing messages?
The first question is, why would you need an app that has disappearing messages? So if you weren't saying something that wasn't inappropriate or from time to time not good or positive, or maybe images, the fact that messages have to disappear is a little bit of a red flag that there's something that might need to be hidden. So I would have a conversation around why students feel the need to do that. But also, it's really about a trust. And so what level of trust do you have with your child? Some of the apps could be, if we're talking about a Snapchat or whatever, some of that could be innocent enough. But generally, students and kids move to different apps for different reasons and different purposes. So if they're going to say something that may have negative effect or negative consequences, they may move to a disappearing chat app intentionally versus using a regular text message or another form or an Instagram or something that can be traced. So really, if you start to see your child using a variety of different communication tools, I would start to cue in as to why they're using certain tools for certain purposes and have that conversation about the potential warning flags around bullying or sending inappropriate things that can get them into a lot of trouble.
Amazing. So my next question is about screen time. What are your tips that parents can do to better manage screen time at home?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, get outside and go play. That's one. Post pandemic, we saw sort of this big pendulum swing. We went from not so much of a digital screen time school system to full time screen time. And coming back from that, pulling back from that was a little bit hard. Almost immediately overnight, we went to a 1-to-1 as a school district. And so kids had just 24-hour unfeathered access to the internet and to their screens. All of our work started to be sent via digital platforms. Anything that the students needed, they had to use their computers. And so we were actually creating that dynamic by housing all of our curriculum and our instructional information in these learning platforms. And so kids were spending an inordinate amount of time on screen. So between that and their phone, when are they going outside to play? When are they getting fresh air? When are they giving their eyes a break and their brains a break from the stimulation? When are they socializing with their peers and building relationships with real people in real time in the flesh? And so when the kids come home, they need to take a break. In school, we started to talk about going back to some traditional writing and hands-on project-based learning, coupled with a balance of the screen time to do research or to put a final product together. But as a school district, we're also pulling back and creating a rebalancing so that there's a variety of multimedia, not just the screen, that kids are exposed to. So it's not 24/7, because we recognize that there is a definite issue with the level of screen time that kids are exposed to right now.
So true. Excellent answers. So, my next question is, let's talk a little bit about avoiding strangers and dangerous situations online. What is your advice to parents and students to avoid talking to these strangers and avoid dangerous situations online?
Sure. I would say to my child, if I don't know who this person is, they got to go. So online strangers are even more dangerous than the stranger you might meet at the grocery store who you don't know, because there's still an understanding of who that person might be. You're able to assess in some way how dangerous somebody could be or not. And you have access to other adults around you. When you're in an online one-to-one situation, talking to strangers, you have absolutely no understanding of the intent of the person on the other end of that line, if it is even is a person, whether or not they're tracking your location while you're having that communication and
Mhm.
finding out more about you and your lifestyle so that they can take advantage of you in some way. And some of those ways can be very scary and very dangerous. So making sure that your children are speaking to someone that you know who they are, they're approved by you, no different than if strangers were to walk up to your child in a neighborhood near your home. How long would you allow them to encounter a person without you really having a sense of the intent of that person? So taking all of that very seriously and talking with your child about those potential dangers.
Amazing. Superintendent, thanks so much for joining our Superintendent Spotlight, helping these parent questions get answered. We really appreciate your opinion. Thanks for joining us here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
For the rest of you, if you're interested in learning more, smartsocial.com has 450 amazing resources in 12 different languages to help you with everything where your digital device might touch your kid's life. And we want to make sure your kids are safe on social media so they can be successful and someday shine online when they're ready to get the dream career, job, internship, and everything else so they're launched into their future in a safe way. I'm Josh Oakes, the founder of smartsocial.com. We'll see you all on the next episode. Have a great day.